Mediation is gaining popularity. In my estimation, and this is just based on my experience, I would say the last 7 or 8 years in Massachusetts, it's become more and more common. I became certified as a mediator in the early 90s and have been doing it consistently since then. And mediation is suitable for some cases, but not all cases. There are advantages and disadvantages to mediation. The obvious advantages are that it's in a I don't like to really term it this way, but a less hostile setting. While I don't see courts as necessarily a hostile place, some people do see them as a hostile place. So what happens is the mediation occurs in my office, in an office environment. The participants feel that it's a much more open discussion that they can have than that might be had in the courthouse corridor. And it's just a friendlier way to deal with their soon-to-be former spouse. So the advantage of mediation is that it's a lot less formal than going to court. And the other advantage is the terms that you agree to are totally within your control. Someone, namely a judge, isn't forcing you to accept a term that you don't necessarily agree to. The other advantage to mediation is that it's generally much more cost-effective than each hiring a lawyer to go to court. The disadvantages of mediation, though, are that in my view, in my experience, sometimes the weaker party loses, so to speak. So and by weaker party, I mean someone that isn't quite in the know about what went on during the marriage. I mean the party who wasn't in control of the finances, who doesn't know whether or not their spouse has a retirement plan, who doesn't have any idea of the budget necessary to run the household. So they could agree to something that would not be necessarily in their best interest. And as a mediator, I cannot point that out. My role, because then I would be giving legal advice, and one of the tenets of being a mediator is that you can't give legal advice to either party. So if the parties agree, that might become a term of the agreement. Now, the court still has to find that the agreement's fair and reasonable, but typically, if the parties have agreed to it, the court would find that the agreement is fair and reasonable. So a disadvantage of mediation is that sometimes the weaker party doesn't know everything they need to know, and there's no means of doing any discovery in a mediation. You essentially have to rely upon the information provided to you by the other party.